Human used to utilize simple machines to understand themselves and improve well-being. Later, engineers developed more complicated machines to expand humans' life expectancy, so that we can have more time to create more advanced machines. For example, now we have ECG to study the different parts in our body and how they work, without going into the body.
I mean that goes on for the rest of our lives in million or more words in English. Most of us only have a vocabulary of 50, 60, 70,000 words, whatever it is, until there is always something to learn. So remember that two ends of child language acquisition are wider apart than some people think. That means there is more scope for studying in it than most people think.
Until the early 1960s, newspapers published separate job listings for men and women, and the wage gap, whose closing has been at a rate of about half a penny a year since 1963, when the Equal Pay Act was signed, is a statistical indicator often used as an index of the status of women's earnings relative to men.
The brain doesn't see the world simply as though the scene was projected onto a cinema screen, because the image that we see with our eyes is broken down into separate color components and other components. Each of these component parts is sent to a separate area of the brain for processing, with the different components of the scene only merging again when they are unified into what you perceive as the image. The National Oceanography Center (NOC) is engaged in research into the potential risks and benefits of exploiting deep-sea mineral resources. An NOC also led an international study demonstrating deep-sea nodule mining will cause long-lasting damage to deep-sea life, so it aimed at informing that decisions need to be taken as people increasingly turn to the oceans to address some of society's greatest challenges.
Earl Miller is among the neuroscientists amassing evidence that waves are an essential part of how the brain operates. Brain oscillations deftly route information in a way that allows the brain to choose which signals in the world to pay attention to and which to ignore, his recent studies suggest. Soil, containing so many organisms, combines with minerals, water, air and organic matter to create a living system for all life, which reduces the risk of flooding, mitigates agricultural emissions, increases disease resistance in livestock and ultimately drives profits for farmers. But soil and its impact on the health of our animals has been one of the most neglected links in UK agriculture because they use fertilizers, which has a detrimental effect on the land. Despite great debate, solar energy, whose advantages merit further development and possible adaptation for residences, remains popular because it is a true renewable resource which is available for collection in all areas of the world each day, and it is non-polluting, creating no greenhouse gases or waste, reducing noise pollution and having very little impact on the surrounding environment, without reasonable maintenance and repair costs. Neither the experts nor the media were presenting how global development changes the world. Based on these two insights, Hans Rosling made it his mission to bridge this gap and present the evidence that global development is a reality. His approach to communicating research on global development was through public talks and the use of data visualization.
According to new research, if you can switch out your intake of refined sugar and use pure raw honey instead, the health benefits can be enormous, and unlike processed honey, raw honey is a pure, unfiltered, and unpasteurized sweetener made by bees and does not get robbed of its incredible nutritional value and health power, which can help with low energy, sleep problems, seasonal allergies, and even weight loss. Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, is a revolutionary scientist who has altered the way people think as well as the way they live, believing the internet can foster human understanding and even world peace, because an individual now have the same access to information as the elite. There is not much time to sit back and reflect because society will never be the same. Our department has led research into straw as a low-impact building material, and the MARC certification guarantees a straw building's energy efficiency, fire safety, durability and weather resilience, as the technology combines the lowest carbon footprint and the best operational CO2 performance, which enables the innovative straw walls to provide insulation and reduce fuel bills.
Atmospheric currents carry soot thousands of miles from where it is produced to the Himalayas and the Arctic. Black carbon, being black, absorbs sunlight, so even a little soot on snow makes it melt faster. And when snow melts, global sea levels rise, threatening our freshwater indigenous communities and polar bears who hunt on the Arctic ice. Climate change has been a big thing for a while, and carbon dioxide has been its main cause. Scientists estimate that soot causes 25% of human-caused global warming. It's the second leading cause of Arctic warming after carbon dioxide.
Just like corporations, stars, too, can engage in mergers and acquisitions. A new study has identified a pair of white dwarf stars heading toward a merger. White dwarfs are the hot, super-dense remnants of spent stars. In a binary system called J0651, two white dwarfs circle each other very rapidly. The binary pairing completes an orbit in less than 13 minutes. And that already rapid orbital dance is speeding up as the two white dwarfs spiral in on each other. Each year their orbital period shrinks by 0.3 milliseconds. That's actually a pretty dramatic change on astronomical timescales in about 1 million years.
On October 12, 1492, Columbus wrote in his journal that the native people of the Americas should be good servants. Moreover, from his very first contact with native people, Columbus had the domination in mind, and after his second voyage, Columbus sent back a consignment of natives to be sold as slaves. And lastly, in a letter to Luis de Santangel, Columbus made clear that the natives had done nothing to deserve ill treatment. On October 12, 1492, Columbus wrote in his journal that the native people of the Americas should be good servants. Moreover, from his very first contact with native people, Columbus had the domination in mind, and after his second voyage, Columbus sent back a consignment of natives to be sold as slaves, and lastly, in a letter to Luis de Santangel, Columbus made clear that the natives had done nothing to deserve ill treatment.
The advantages and disadvantages of solar power compared to other forms of renewable energy have been greatly debated. While obviously superior to some forms of energy, solar power's high cost and efficiency dependent on geography have limited its appeal. However, a large number of advantages also merit further development and even possible adaptation for residences. Advantages of solar power. Solar energy remains popular because it is both a renewable and clean source of energy. Water is governed in a participatory way that draws on the full potential of women and men as professionals and citizens, guided by a number of able and knowledgeable organizations, within a just and transparent institutional framework.
Although some brands stay fresh for generations, Marmite is over 100 years old, others become jaded due to changes in consumer tastes and lifestyles. At this point, the firms need to refresh the brand image to keep the products relevant to the target market. A clear objective must be set. For instance, what brand attributes do we want to create? What do we want the brand to stand for? This occurs when a firm aims to change a brand's image, so that the brand appeals to a new target market.
The modern home design is very different to that of the past in my country. The material being used now in the construction of houses is much advanced, like weatherproof paints, insulated walls, soundproof windows, etc. The design of the modern houses is according to the space available. There is better utilization of space in the modern home designs. The homes in the past used to be more spacious and not equipped to handle the latest electronic gadgets and equipment, like washing machine, microwave, dishwashers and so on.
There are some similarities such as polar caps, atmospheres and water climate. But Mars and the Earth also have lots of difference. Even the most inhabitable areas on the Earth are way different from those on Mars. In preparing for the Phoenix mission, scientists have done Antarctica trial runs. The lecture also describes different forms of water, hydrology, on the surface and underground of the Earth and Mars.
But if you were to go to a library at the end of the 1300s, or through the 1400s, you would probably find a book that was then way more popular than those titles we still read, a book that purported to be a description of the world, a guide the traveling and distant lands of BC area and almanac of everything that was just off the horizon. I am not talking about Marco Polo. No, I'm talking about something far weirder and far less tethered to reality.
Fewer sales, which means that inventories pile up and there is more supply than demand, lead to prices going down, which normally cause demand to pick up, and people to tend to postpone purchases, and further gluts in the market, which eventually lead manufacturers to slow production, and cause domestic consumption to fall further since there is less money to buy goods.